Part 35. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 341. Chapter 341. Xiao Angzhen dared to hit someone in public? I also heard that Mr. Su has a fiancée. He has even taken her out when attending some occasions before. Then why did she become Xiao Angzhen's boyfriend again? Isn't she acting as a mistress to ruin other people's relationships? The discussion among a few people was not loud, but not small either. Xiao Angzhen heard it all. When she heard someone say that she was a mistress, she was so angry that she clenched her fists and walked towards the person who spoke. Who do you think is the mistress? Su Ziyi has broken up with his fiancée a long time ago. I am his legitimate girlfriend. What nonsense are you talking about here? Xiao Angzhen was a mistress. Although she has now changed her job, she heard that the word mistress is particularly sensitive. She cannot tolerate others calling her a mistress. She was furious and stared at the female artist who said she was a mistress with a livid face. She said with a fierce expression, "You are calling it false accusation and slander. I can sue you." The female artist was shocked. She was just gossiping casually, but she didn't expect Xiao Angzhen to hear it. Even rushed over. The female artist felt she was wrong and wanted to apologize. Seeing that Xiao Angzhen's attitude was so bad, she immediately felt unhappy. She sneered at her and said, "If it's not, it's not. Why are you so excited? It's like a thief with a guilty conscience." Xiao Angzhen's face darkened. Who do you think is guilty of committing a crime? Female artists are not good-tempered people. Even if they knew that Xiao Angzhen was Su Ziyi's girlfriend, there was nothing to be afraid of. She is not a female artist from Xinggui. Su Zexia couldn't hide her, and the Su family wasn't powerful enough to block her. She was not polite to Xiao Angzhen at all. She looked at her with a bit of provocation, raised her lips and taunted, "I will tell whoever is the most excited. I have never done anything before, so how can I have such a big reaction? Just say how some people's resources suddenly improved. It turned out that they were obtained by hooking up with their boss. It's a pity that no matter how good the resources are, it is useless if the strength is not enough." What did you say? Do you have the guts to say it again? When Xiao Angzhen was at Xinggui, she was treated like a first sister. Some of the veteran artists in the company were also polite when they met her. When the newcomers met her, they even gave her all kinds of compliments. Other artists in the industry are also friends with her, and no one is obviously rude to her. How could she bear it now that she was being provoked like this in public by a newcomer who was not even second tier? At this time, she was already dizzy with anger, and there was no Linda by her side to restrain her behavior. She raised her hand and slapped the female artist on the face. A pop sound. That female artist was stunned. Several artists around her were also confused and looked at her in shock. Xiao Angzhen actually dared to hit someone in public? Is she crazy? Don't want to be Imagi anymore? Xiao Angzhen looked at the female artist's swollen face and felt relieved. She gritted her teeth and sneered, "I'll let you talk nonsense. A newcomer dares to be so arrogant. Today I will teach you the principles of life." The female artist who was beaten was still very young, less than 18 years old. She is also a spoiled little princess at home. I was suddenly slapped by Xiao Angzhen, and I couldn't bear it. She also raised her hand and hit Xiao Angzhen on the face. Xiao Angzhen quickly dodged, and the female artist waved her hand and rushed towards her, throwing her to the ground. The two men struggled together. The surrounding artists stretched out their hands to pull her away, but they couldn't pull her away. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 342. Chapter 342, Has Mr. Su ever dealt with him? The hall suddenly became a mess, and everyone passing by stopped and looked lively. Two female celebrities are fighting in public. The excitement is quite interesting. Especially, one of them is Chiao Angzan, a film and television star who has been in the limelight recently. Someone took out their mobile phone and recorded this wonderful scene. Asterisk. In the locker room of a golf course. A handsome young man put on sportswear and walked out of the locker room together with a middle-aged man in his 40s. I've long heard that Mr. Zhang plays golf very well and has few opponents. Today I can finally see him walking into a golf course. The young and handsome man took a golf club from the staff, bent down, made a golf ball motion, and swung the bat to try out the feel. The middle-aged man next to him also took the bat and said with a smile, "I haven't played for more than a year and my hands are raw. I'm afraid I will lose to Mr. Su today." Director Zhang is being humble. Suzy smiled warmly and humbly, and said some scene words, "Just give me 2 or 3 at most, and Director Zhang's touch will be back. Please be merciful to Director Zhang for a while, and don't let me lose too much, it's ugly." Ha ha ha. Zhang Dong swung a golf ball and the golf ball accurately fell into the hole in front of him. Suzy immediately gave him a high five and sighed with a smile. Director Zhang also said that he is a hand student, but your hand student is like this. If you are not a hand student, wouldn't you be invincible? There is heaven outside the sky, there are people outside the world, and there are many people who can fight better than me. Oh, Suzy seemed a little surprised. Is there anyone in the industry who can play golf better than Director Zhang? I don't know what Director Zhang is talking about. Zhang Dong swung out again and watched the ball fall into the hole before turning around and handing the club to the staff on the side. He picked up the water on the table and took a sip, then said with a smile, "He is a young man, very powerful. I fought with him once, and if he hadn't let me go, I don't know how ugly my defeat would have been. Alas, young people are terrible." Suzy has worked with Director Zhang for many years, and this is the first time that he has heard Director Zhang praise someone so highly. Suddenly, curiosity arose in my heart. Who is this young man that Mr. Zhang is talking about? Do I know him? Mo's newly appointed CEO, has Mr. Su ever dealt with him? Suzy was stunned for a moment. The Su family and the Mo family have some cooperation, but for the Mo family, the Su family's orders are dispensable. There is no way that I can work for President Mo. So, where did he get the chance to deal with President Mo? He would like to have such an opportunity, but the gap between the Su family and the Mo family is a bit big after all. He can get to know the president of the Mo family wherever he wants. Director Zhang is joking. Suzy's eyes flickered slightly. He thought for a few seconds, and then said with a smile, "President Mo's status is very important, and ordinary people have no chance to know him. I heard that the new president who just took office not long ago, very young, only in his 20s, I don't know if it's true." "Well, he is very young," Director Zhang said with emotion. "He is also a talented person with an extraordinary temperament. He is worthy of being the son of the most beautiful woman of the year. I think he is the most outstanding among this group of young people. There is no choice in appearance or ability. Although he is young, he can control those pretentious old guys from the Mo family." Suzy listened silently for a while, and a strange color flashed across his eyes. Hearing the man described by Zhang Dong, he suddenly remembered the man he had seen at the banquet before. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 343. Chapter 343. Mo's Enterprise, Mo Yesi. The man's surname is also Mo. The appearance is also extremely outstanding, and he looks very young. He also drove a Rolls-Royce with a pretty awesome license plate number. It was a license plate number that he tried his best to find out who the owner of the household was. That man is still capable of making Shengui Group bankrupt overnight. The more Suzy thought about it, the more frightened he became. When he thought of a certain possibility, he felt weak all over and a layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Mr. Su, what's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere?" Director Zhang hit another ball, turned around, looked at Suzy's suddenly pale face, and asked with concern. Suzy felt frightened for a while and felt a little dazed. He was frightened by the thought he just had. But when I think about it carefully, I think it's impossible. As we all know, there are no women around the newly appointed CEO of the Mo family. The only woman who has appeared around him is the eldest lady of the Shen family. So, how could Xiao Mian be with him? After thinking about this relationship, Suzy felt relieved. His face slowly returned to normal. He stretched out his hand to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He picked up the club and walked to Director Zhang. "It's nothing. It's just an old stomach problem. It's fine now." Director Zhang nodded, said a few more polite words, and continued playing. Asterisk. It was already 2 hours after Suzy finished accompanying Director Zhang and negotiating the contract. He stood outside the stadium gate, watching Zhang Dong's Land Rover off-road vehicle drive away, then turned and walked towards the parking lot, ready to leave. Just as he turned around, he saw a black figure walking towards him. After seeing the appearance of the person opposite him clearly, his expression couldn't help but change and he stopped. "It's him. The man I met at the banquet last time." Suzy looked at the man in shock with a face full of surprise. He had made many appointments but failed to get one. Mr. Chen followed the man in black respectfully. "One of them is like a master and the other is like a servant. The one who looks like a servant is Mr. Chen." It can be said that the scene shocked Suzy. Chen's company is also famous in Yuncheng. The Su family also sometimes asks Chen's company to do things. When he saw Mr. Chen, he would politely call him Uncle Chen. "Hey, isn't this the young master of Su Dong's family?" Chen Dong raised his head, saw him, and took the initiative to say hello to him. Suzy finally came to his senses, withdrew his prying eyes, and called out politely, "Uncle Chen." "Xiao Su, are you talking here too?" Director Chen has a close relationship with Suzy's father, so when he meets the junior, he naturally wants to ask a few questions. Suzy looked at Mo Yesi, who was standing next to Director Chen. His eyes were a little cold and he nodded expressionlessly, "Yes. Uncle Chen is here to discuss things too. I wonder who this person next to Uncle Chen is." Thinking of the relationship between this man and Xiao Mian, Suzy felt an inexplicable anger in his heart. When he looked at Mo Yesi, there was a bit of hostility in his eyes. It is the hostility of seeing a love rival. Director Chen was afraid that if he talked for a long time and wasted time, the people around him would be unhappy, so he was about to leave with just a perfunctory word, but he saw that the noble man next to him actually took the initiative to introduce Mo's enterprise, Mo Yesi. Suzy suddenly raised his head, his eyes filled with astonishment. "Are you from Mo Company?" Mo Yesi raised his lips, "Yes." He put his hands into the pockets of his suit trousers in a leisurely manner, standing up straight with his slender legs, and his posture as straight as loose. The aura around him is so strong that it makes people want to kneel down and worship. "Happy weekend, babies. New Year's Day is coming soon. Are you happy, surprised or surprised? Happy or unhappy?" End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 344. Chapter 344. I can help her return it to you. That young face is extremely handsome, but not green at all. His brows and eyes are calm, his eyes are a little cold, but also a little sharp. His aura and temperament are very inconsistent with his age. Suzy is also one of the best among young talents. But standing next to Mo Yesi, he was instantly outclassed. it directly dropped several levels. Suzy looked at him in astonishment, and the words Zhang Donggang had said echoed in his ears. Very young, outstanding in appearance, excellent in ability, and very good at golf. Where they are now is at a golf course. Thinking again of Director Chen's respectful look just now, the guess that he had rejected came up again. He seemed to be frightened, and the expression on his face was full of disbelief. I wonder which department of the MO company Mr. MO works in? What position does he hold? He still refused to believe that the man named MO in front of him would be the new CEO of the MO company. Even though, all his conditions are in line with the description given by Director Zhang just now. Chiao Mian had no chance to get to know the newly appointed president of the MO family. It is even more impossible to behave so intimately with him. Director Chen has been observing from the side. He just saw that Mo Yesi took the initiative to introduce him, so he thought that he was interested in making friends with Suzy, so he wanted to help the two of them introduce each other. This kid from the Su family looks pretty good. He is still willing to give a helping hand to the younger generation he likes. After thinking about it for a while, Director Chen smiled and said, "Xiao Su, this is Mr. Mo." Suzy's expression changed instantly. "Mr. Mo." "Yes, Mr. Mo is." Director Chen wanted to give a detailed introduction, but he heard the voice of the person next to him say calmly, "It's just a small department of Mo's, there's nothing to mention." "Director Chen, just send it here, I'll leave first step." After saying that, Mo Yesi passed directly over the two of them and walked towards the parking lot nearby. Suzy stood there for a few seconds. Seeing that Mo Yesi had walked to a Lamborghini parked not far away, he suddenly chased after it. Before Mo Yesi got into the car, he called him, "Mr. Mo, please stay." Mo Yesi held the car door with one hand, turned his head to look at him, his eyes were cold and his voice was cold, "Mr. Su, what else can you do?" Suzy looked at the man in front of him with outstanding appearance and outstanding temperament. After a few seconds of silence, he pursed his lips and said in a bad tone, "Mr. Mo, let's talk." Mo Yesi's dark eyes narrowed. "Talk? I wonder what Mr. Su wants to talk to me about." Suzy didn't mince words. Mr. Mo is a smart person and should have guessed it. "I don't know how Mr. Mo met Mian, and I don't know what conditions you promised her to make her willing to be with you. But I want to tell Mr. Mo, if you are just greedy for novelty and want to play with her because she is beautiful, I hope Mr. Mo can be noble and let her go. How much money you gave her, I can help her pay it back to you. A girl like Mian is not suitable for you. As long as Mr. Mo is willing to show his kindness, I can find more and more beautiful women for Mr. Mo." Suzy guessed that Mo Yesi's identity was probably the manager of a certain department of Mo's company, or the vice president or something. It should be in charge of a relatively important department of the Mo family. That's why Director Chen was so polite to him. "Thank you 138.67 for the tip, okay. Thank you, 152.36, for the reward from Yamen of the Southern Army." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 345. Chapter 345. Is it inconvenient to say it, or is it shameless to say it? Although it is very good to hold a high-level position in Mo's company, no matter how good he is just a high-level wage earner working for the company. No matter how much power you have in your hands, it is not your own. Such a position does not pose a great threat to him. Because of this, he dared to come over and say these things to Mo Yesi. He knew that Mo's welfare benefits were very good, and the salaries of top executives were extremely high, with tens of millions and hundreds of millions. It's totally okay to take some wallet and keep a lover or something. But that little money is nothing to him. Su's company makes a profit of more than 1 billion a year, and his income far exceeds that of the top executives of Mo's company. No matter how much money Moyesi gave Chiao Mian, he could still afford it. After listening to what Suzy said, Moyesi curled his lips and remained silent for a while, then raised his eyebrows and said, "Mr. Su, do you think the reason why I am with Mian is because I covet her beauty and think she is fresh?" Even though Suzy felt that the top management of the Mo family could not threaten him, he did not want to offend anyone. The Su family and the Mo family also cooperated. He has offended others and does no good. He met Moyesi's half-smiling eyes, and after a moment of silence, he said with a smile, "Mr. Mo, I was in a moment of impatience and said the wrong thing, and I hope you won't be as knowledgeable as me. To be honest with you, the reason why I made such a request is because of my extraordinary relationship with Chiao Mian. Moyesi's hand holding the car door tightened, his eyes darkened, but he said with a smile on his lips, "Oh? What does Mr. Su mean by an extraordinary relationship?" Suzy seemed to have a hint of provocation in his eyes as he said word for word, "She is my ex, and she and I almost got married. We have known each other for 10 years and are the people who know each other best. Therefore, I know very well that she is not sincere when she is with you. With Mr. Mo's conditions being so good, there must be no shortage of women around him. A woman whose heart is not with you will be. Is it interesting to keep it by your side? I think Mr. Mo is also a very proud person, and he doesn't want to force others. To be honest, apart from being pretty, Mian has no other advantages. She has a dull personality and is not lovable at all, especially in that aspect. Dumb and incomprehensible. Mr. Mo wants to find Jia while you can find it everywhere, so why spend money to find an elm knot that doesn't understand the charm?" As soon as Suzy finished speaking, he felt that the air pressure around him dropped. He raised his eyes and met Moyesi's eyes that suddenly became cold and sharp. He was stunned and felt a chill running up his back. "Mr. Mo, you..." Mr. Su Moyesi squinted his eyes, with a dangerous cold light in his eyes, and said in a low voice, "Just now you said that you and Mian have known each other for 10 years and are the people who know each other best. You are almost married." Suzy hesitated, "Yes." Moyesi sneered, "So, you guys have a good relationship? Then I want to ask, why did you break up again?" Suzy's expression changed. His eyes flickered several times before he hesitated and said, "Sorry, this is between her and me. It's not convenient to tell outsiders." Moyesi's cold eyes looked at him aggressively. "Is it inconvenient to say it, or is it shameless to say it?" Mr. Su is very affectionate with his sister, but at the same time he wants to be a good person and save her from the dire straits. What is Mr. Su's heart? How big is it and how many people do you want to fit in it? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 346. Chapter 346, The Mo Family, We Can't Afford to Offend. Suzy looked at him in surprise and said with an ugly face, "You." Moyesi suddenly changed his expression, took a step forward, stretched out his hand to grab Suzy's collar, and looked at him with cold eyes. "Suzy, you bullied Mian like this. I didn't kill you. You should burn incense and be grateful that I still have some kindness. Who gave you the courage to make these requests in front of me? If it weren't for Mian, do you think you can still stand here well now? It's easier to crush you to death than to crush an ant. I'm warning you for the last time, Chiao Mian is my woman now. You dare to covet her again, I will make your death ugly." After saying that, he let go and turned around and got into the car. Bang, the car door closed, and the silver Lamborghini quickly drove out of the parking area. Suzy was filled with exhaust fumes and stood motionless. His blood was cold from head to toe. be frightened. Just now, when Moyesi said the words "I will make you die ugly," he saw a flash of murderous intent in his eyes. At that moment, he clearly felt that Moyesi really had murderous intentions towards him. "Xiao Su, what's going on with you? What's going on with you and Mr. Mo?" Director Chen was standing not far away and saw the scene just now. After Moyesi's car drove away, he hurriedly came over to ask. Suzy turned his head palely, with a frightened look in his eyes. He was stunned for a while, then his lips moved, and his voice was a little trembling. "Uncle Chen, who is he?" At first, he guessed that Moyesi was the newly appointed president of the Mo family, but later he found a reason to deny it. Later, he guessed that he was a senior member of the Mo family. But now, he felt that he had guessed wrong. If you were just a senior company executive, you wouldn't be so arrogant. He's not from a small department, right? Before Director Chen could say anything, Suzy clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Uncle Chen, you know him, right? Tell me, what exactly is he, who is it?" Director Chen frowned and looked at him for a while, then shook his head. "Xiao Su, including this time, Mr. Mo and I have only met twice in total. I really don't know him. He is in Mo. I don't know what his position is." Of course Director Chen knew Moyesi's true identity. It's just that, since Moyesi said that just now, it means that he doesn't want Suzy to know his true identity. Director Chen naturally did not dare to reveal it. However, thinking that Moyesi's face didn't look good when he just left, Director Chen hesitated and felt that he should remind the junior in front of him. After all, his father also had a relationship with him. And the two companies also cooperate. It would be bad if Suzy offended Moyesi. "Xiao Su, although I don't know what position Mr. Mo holds in the Mo family. However, his surname is Mo, so he might be a relative of the Mo family. Since he can work in the Mo family, it means that he is also valued by the Mo family. You must not offend him. We cannot afford to offend the Mo family." Director Chen also kindly reminded him because of his friendship with the Su family. If it were anyone else, he wouldn't even bother to say it. Unexpectedly, Suzy didn't appreciate it very much, nor did he take his words seriously. Hearing what he said, I felt relieved. It turned out to be just a side relative. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 347. Chapter 347. Miss Jiao is now at the police station. Suzy looked at Director Chen's very fearful look, tugged the corners of his lips, and said with a bit of disapproval in his eyes, "Uncle Chen, you are too nervous. The Mo family has a great business, and there are countless relatives in the branches. Why be so afraid? No wonder he is so arrogant." It turns out that it was the Mahists who were showing off their power. It's a pity that he is only a member of a branch of the Mo family, not the president of the Mo family who is really in power. Even if they offended him, the Mo family would never go to war over a relative. Director Chen frowned when he saw that he didn't take what he just said into his heart, but said nothing more. He said everything that needed to be said. Whether he listens or not, that has nothing to do with him. His little friendship with the Su family can only go so far. If the son of the Su family insisted on committing suicide, he would not stop him. "Okay, I have something else to do. Go back and see your dad and tell him that when the sky clears, I'll go fishing with him." "Okay, I will convey it to my dad." "Uncle Chen, please walk slowly." Suzy watched Mr. Chen get into the car, then turned and walked to another area of the parking lot. After approaching, he took out his car key and pressed it. A silver-gray Porsche sports car rang twice and unlocked with a click. Suzy walked over, opened the door and got in the car. "As soon as I sat down, my cell phone rang." He took it out and looked at it. When he saw that it was someone from the company calling, he immediately picked up the call. "Hello. Mr. Su." A respectful voice came from the other side. "Can you come to the police station right now?" "Police station?" Suzy frowned and asked in confusion, "What happened?" The person on the other side hesitated for a while and then said, "Chiao, Miss Chiao is at the police station now." "An Xian is at the police station?" Suzy was stunned for a few seconds, his eyebrows knitted together. "What's going on?" "Okay, why is she at the police station?" The other side hesitated for a few seconds before he said hesitantly, "Ms. Jiao had an argument with a female artist from Huanyu Media, and then they started fighting. Someone called the police, and now she and the female artist are both take notes at the police station." "She fought with someone else." Suzy was shocked and couldn't believe it. In his heart, Chiao Angzhen is such a gentle and weak woman. How could she fight with others? Thinking that she was still pregnant with the child, Suzy's face turned pale. He squeezed the phone tightly and asked nervously, "Is she injured?" Miss Jiao was scratched on her face and a few scratches on her arms. Other places seemed to be fine. Chiao Angzhen's pregnancy has not been made public yet. Other than people from the Su family and Chiao family, no one else knows. Suzy was worried about the child in her belly, but couldn't ask directly. After thinking about it, he said in a deep voice, "Did she say anything about what was wrong with her?" "This doesn't seem to be the case. Miss Jiao just said she wanted to see you and asked me to call you." Suzy relaxed a little. It seems that an Xian is fine. She is pregnant with a child now. As a mother, she must be more concerned about the child in her belly than herself. There really is something, and I won't hide it. Tell her not to panic, I'll be there right away. Asterisk. When Suzy rushed to the police station, Chiao Angzhen had just finished taking notes. As soon as she saw him, she ran up to him, threw herself into his arms, and hugged him tightly. Her eyes were red and filled with tears. Her eyes were extremely aggrieved and pitiful. She buried herself in Suzy's chest and sobbed softly, "Brother Ace, you are finally here. Wow, I'm so scared." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 348. Chapter 348. No one dares to hurt you anymore. She seemed really scared and her body was shaking. As soon as Suzy lowered his head, he saw her tear-filled eyes and pale face filled with fear. She was scratched on her face, and there were 2 long red marks on her fair cheek, which looked very shocking. Suzy's face immediately darkened. He stretched out his arms to hug her, and softened his voice to comfort her, "Don't worry, don't be afraid, I'm here. With me here, no one dares to hurt you anymore. Don't be afraid." Chiao Angzhen hugged him and cried bitterly, "Brother Ace, you must vent your anger on me. My face is scratched, what will I do with my next work?" Chiao Angzhen relies on her face to make a living. Her face was caught like this, and she would not be able to recover within a week or so. But her upcoming schedule is very full and there is no time to rest at all. Especially since she has to make an announcement the day after tomorrow. There is not much money for announcements on the internet. But it was very helpful in increasing her popularity. Suzy also thought of this level. He looked at the 2 long red scratches on Chiao Angzhen's face, his eyes darkened, and he said in a cold voice, "Don't worry about these, just treat yourself as a holiday, I will arrange it for you. Tell me, what happened? Why did the female artist from Huanyu fight with you?" From Suzy's point of view, it must have been the female entertainer Huanyu who bullied Chiao Angzhen. It is impossible for a woman like Chiao Angzhen, who is weak, kind, and gentle, to take the initiative to stir up trouble. Although he can't control the entertainers, he can't let others bully his woman like this. Chiao Angzhen opened her mouth, and just as she was about to speak, she saw Suzy frowning. "Where's Linda? Why isn't she with you?" Speaking of this, Xiao Angzhen's aggrieved eyes blinked and tears fell out. She looked at Suzy with tears in her eyes. I had an argument with Linda today because of a little misunderstanding, and she said in a fit of anger that she would quit. She also mocked me for my poor acting skills and that I was not suitable to be an actor, and asked me to accept a variety show. Suzy's eyes showed surprise. Linda said she quit. Linda is an old employee of Xinggui and has been working at Xinggui for almost 10 years. Why did you suddenly stop doing it? Xiao Angzhen glanced at Suzy's face, and said aggrievedly, we used to occasionally have small quarrels because of some disagreements, but it soon became nothing. I don't know what happened this time, but I lost my temper and said she wouldn't be my agent anymore. She also said she would tell you about it, and I thought you knew it. Xiao Angzhen is really a little aggrieved. Until now, she still hasn't figured out why Linda suddenly fell out with her. Is it because she wants to break the contract with Imperial Palace? She is Suzy's girlfriend and the future boss lady of Xinggui. Breaking a contract with a drama is nothing. She can get whatever good resources she wants in the future. Even if she gives up acting in the Emperor's Palace, it won't have much impact on her career. Suzy's face became more and more gloomy upon hearing this. Are you sure it was just a small quarrel and she just said she wanted to quit? Brother Ace, do you think I'm lying to you? Xiao Angzhen looked at him with tears in her eyes. She wanted me to stop acting and only do variety shows. Just because I didn't agree to her and refuted her, I got angry and said I wouldn't do it. Does she feel that she has worked in Xinggui for 10 years and made so many artists popular, others obey her, but I don't, so she doesn't want to be my manager? I'm telling you in a low voice, it's snowing in Chengdu, I'm super excited. Babies in the north won't understand this kind of joy. We southerners can just entertain ourselves. Thank you Zixi, 13867, Yoke, 15901, Manshang Lusha, 13467, 18289, Yamen of the Southern Army, Ahem, and the VIP patients of the mental hospital for the reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 349. Chapter 349. Don't you feel sick in your stomach? Suzy looked at Xiao Angzhen's dark eyes filled with tears. He was silent for a few seconds. He reached out to touch her head and comforted her softly. I don't believe you. Don't think too much. Linda is indeed from the company. He is old and has made many artists famous, and he has a certain status in Xinggui. The artists are in awe of her. Probably because the artists she brought before were all obedient to her, but you were not so obedient, so she was unhappy. But I really like acting. Xiao Angzhen bit her lip aggrievedly. She can arrange variety shows for me, but she won't let me act at all, which I really can't accept. I can promise her everything else. I can't listen to her. I always thought she was an easy person to get along with, but I didn't expect that she would resign and leave Xinggui just because of such a trivial matter. Brother Ace, she knew the relationship between me and you, and she still did this. This is not only unfair. If you take me seriously, I don't take you seriously. Has she decided that she has great merit and you don't dare to do anything to her? Xiao Angzhen said these words with a harmless look. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Suzy's face darken a little, and there was a trace of anger in his eyes. Xiao Angzhen looked at his face and pursed her lower lip. You have just taken over Suze. I'm afraid you don't have much prestige in the eyes of an old employee like her. Naturally, she is not afraid of you. I don't think she is serious. I want to resign just to get angry at Joe. Anyway, she concluded that you couldn't really let her leave Xinggui. Since Linda no longer wants to be her agent. Then get away from Xingui. What she needs is an agent who listens to her, not an agent who wants her to obey. She knows Suzy very well. 3 things that Suzy fears most when taking office is that his employees don't take him seriously. Even if an old employee like Linda dares to challenge his authority, he will never tolerate it. Since she wants to leave her job, let her do it. She is just an agent. Without her, I don't believe it will have any impact on Xingui. She knows you are my woman, and yet she dares to do this to you. It's really outrageous, too arrogant. If it were any other artist, she wouldn't know how crazy she would be. Xingui doesn't need such arrogant people. Suzy's face turned dark as expected, and he was so angry that he immediately called the Xingui Human Resources Department and asked them to notify Linda to go through the resignation procedures. When he received the notice, the manager of the Human Resources Department was very surprised. He thought he had heard wrongly and asked again for confirmation. The response from the Human Resources Department made Suzy even more annoyed. This made him even more determined to fire Linda. You heard it right, I'm talking about Linda Xie. Immediately inform her to go back to the company to complete the resignation procedures. Also, tell her that she doesn't need to come to me again, that's what I mean. Xiao Angzhen, who was leaning on his chest, had a proud and relieved smile on her face. Suzy hung up the phone, hugged her and walked aside to sit down. He looked at the scratches on Xiao Angzhen's body and glanced at her belly worriedly. Angzhen, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Xiao Angzhen shook her head. I'm fine, brother Ace, you don't have to worry about me. Are you not feeling sick in your stomach? When Suzy just arrived, he asked a policeman to find out the situation. The police said that Xiao Angzhen and the female artist were fighting fiercely. The two rolled on the ground and struggled. People nearby tried to pull them away, but they couldn't pull them away. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 350. Chapter 350. If Xiao Angzhen deceived him. This is very different from what he thought he would do. Xiao Angzhen is less than 3 months pregnant. The first 3 months are the most unstable time for a child in the belly and the most likely time for something to happen. It would be very dangerous if she really fought as hard as the policeman said. The child in the belly is easily lost. Suzy was just busy comforting her and dealing with Linda's affairs, and didn't think of coming here for a while. Now seeing her acting all right, I couldn't help but feel a little doubt in my heart. Are you really okay? He squinted his eyes, and when he looked at Xiao Angzhen again, his eyes were a little complicated. Is there really no need to go to the hospital for a checkup? Xiao Angzhen felt a thump in her heart. When she raised her head, she met Suzy's inquiring and suspicious eyes. Her heart thumped again, and she realized that he was suspecting something was wrong with the child in her belly. Her body stiffened for a moment, and her hands and feet felt a little cold for a moment when he looked at her like this. After a long while, an unnatural smile emerged from the corner of his lips, his eyes flashed, and he avoided Suzy's gaze and said, it should be fine. I have always protected my belly and the baby. Besides, I think our baby is very strong and not as fragile as you think. Yeah. Suzy looked at her evasive eyes and the unnatural expression on her face, and he felt more and more doubts in his heart. When he and Xiao Angzhen were having sex, they always wore condoms. Only one time, Xiao Angzhen seduced him from the bay window of his house. He didn't have time to pick up a condom, so he didn't wear it. But that day was a safe period for Xiao Angzhen. Moreover, when the critical moment came, he also did it outside. It can be said that the chance of Xiao Angzhen being pregnant with a child is very small. But it's not completely absent. That's why he didn't doubt Xiao Angzhen when she said she was pregnant with their baby. Of course, Xiao Angzhen later showed him the pregnancy test report, which indeed showed that she was pregnant. But at this moment, Suzy suddenly had doubts in his heart. Qiao Angzhen was pregnant, and she got pregnant too soon. Not long after he started discussing marriage with Qiao Mian, the child became pregnant. Then, Qiao Mian learned about them. Then, he and Qiao Mian broke up, and then he and Qiao Angzhen were together because of their children. Su Ziyi's face turned ugly as he thought of a certain possibility. Brother Ace, what's wrong with you? Qiao Angzhen glanced at him cautiously, feeling very uneasy inside. Su Ziyi, did you discover anything? Su Ziyi stared at her seriously for a while, then slowly raised the corners of his lips and reached out to touch her head, as if she was slowly returning to normal. It's nothing. I just think I should go to the hospital for a checkup before I feel relieved. Otherwise, I will worry about you. Now that I think about it, Qiao Angzhen has always been talking about the pregnancy. At the beginning, she gave him a pregnancy test report. Then he became convinced of the matter. He didn't even know how he could trust Qiao Angzhen so easily in the first place. Since Su Ziyi had doubts in his heart, he wanted to take the opportunity to take Qiao Angzhen to the hospital to check. If Qiao Angzhen deceived him. His hands hanging by his sides were clenched into fists, and a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Qiao Angzhen also guessed that Su Ziyi was suspicious of her and wanted to take her to the hospital for a checkup to see if she was really pregnant. If this is the case, then she has nothing to be afraid of. End of this chapter.